is. I'm going to hop into the system now and kind of talk through some things. With tracking opportunity in the system, the first place that I would recommend that you start is understanding which products that you want to track. Do you want to track all of the roof replacements under one product? Or do you want to know how much TPO you're putting on versus built up? Right? So those are products that you need to establish within the system. Inside of your sales settings, you can add in these different products. Right? And there's opportunity products admin, which is where you control some of that. So you have roof replacement, roof repair, service dispatch, and quick bid. These are all default products. You can also add in new construction, or you can add in service agreements, or you can add in specific types of replacements. So I would say spend a little bit of time thinking about what's important to you guys, because ultimately they show up on this master opportunity report. And you can see the total amount of leads, total amount that's quoted, sold, and also what's dead. And you can break this out by the different products. Now, talking a little bit about use of a CRM, because it seems like a lot of companies that maybe haven't done a hard implementation of the CRM are giving it a solid crack. Now, if you're going to implement the CRM, you need to manage through it. You need to manage the sales efforts through it. So for example, let's say we have some prospects loaded in, and maybe we're doing some email campaigns, or we're putting some calls in, but ultimately it ends up with hopefully an opportunity, and that can be tracked through sales activity report and opportunities. So let me just kind of run through a scenario of utilizing the CRM and ultimately how you can get your salespeople to use the CRM so you can get those reports. Let's say I have a company that I'm trying to do business with. We'll call it test building. They're a prospect. It looks like I might drive by it every day. What I might do is set up an activity for myself to get in touch with this building. Or I'm going to drop in and say, what's up? Drop off some literature. It all starts with an activity. And a lot of times you may filter out your list, and maybe it's a zip code and you want to just schedule a bunch of activities at the same time. But eventually you end up with a calendar that has these activities that you need to do. And their follow-ups and their prospecting calls. While you're driving to your next appointment, why not put out a few calls? But really it's through adding a new activity. And if you have someone set this up for salespeople in your company, or you require your salespeople to do this on their own, I'm going to set up an activity for a contact. And it's for myself. I don't really care about the time right now. What it's regarding, prospecting call. All right, and I'm going to add that new activity. On my mobile device, I'm going to see that activity. So if the intent is to be able to complete these calls on the road, use your mobile. If you're in an office, then use the desktop and complete these activities. But from my mobile, let's say I just log on, right? I'm just going to click log in. If I were to click on my schedule, I'm going to see my activities in a list. Now, if you don't see anything in here, just make sure that you're sorting it from the right date range. So I'm just showing this week. If I want to show completed, I can do that too. You can add an activity from this view by hitting that little plus button. So here is my list. What is it, Thursday? I have a contact down here. And if I click on where it says test building, it's going to bring me to the building. But if I click on the actual gray strip there, it's going to bring me to this contact. Now from here, I'm going to see any notes that I plugged in. This is a prospecting call. I could have included a lot more detail. But this is the very, very beginning. I don't have any notes in history, but I'll be building on that. So if I come back up and I look at the contacts, which I don't have any contacts in here. I should have picked one with contacts. Let's say I'm just going to add one real quick. I'm going to say it's the owner, Bob Smooth, and I'll just put in a phone number here, 555s. All right, I could have even, when I set up the activity, selected who it's with, so that way we know who to call. All right, but let me just reload this page here. And when there's an actual contact on a property and you have a call like this, you just scroll up and you're able to see that phone number up here. Right, and it's always going to show the default contact. If you click more contacts, it'll show the list if you have multiples. But what I'm going to do is just click on that number. I'm going to place my call, and let's say I called Bob, and I talked to him for a brief second, but he was really busy, so he said to call back later. I'm going to record exactly what just happened. So I'm going to go down to complete activity. And there's a few levels of these results, and I'll touch on them because they're significant to a prospecting effort. We record attempted, completed, and objective met. Right, so the traditional completion of an activity defaults at completed. But let me explain. Attempted means I attempted to reach out to a decision maker, and I did not get through to them. So if I complete an activity under attempted, that prospect will remain inside of the prospects tab. There's no opportunity. If I record it as completed, that means that I spoke with Bob, but it didn't go anywhere. Now, if I spoke with Bob and I set an appointment, I would do objective met. And I'm going to do that next, but let's just record it as completed. And I'm going to just type in some notes here. Spoke with Bob about some potential opportunity. He was busy and said to call back later. So I'll just record that. And there's always a checkbox, schedule another activity. Wherever you're at, desktop or mobile, there's always a checkbox when you complete an event to schedule out the next one. So I'm going to check this box, and I'm going to hit complete activity. So it's going to record my first activity, and I'm going to set it up again to follow up. So this is a contact. It's for myself. It's for today. It's with Bob. What it's regarding, follow up, and details. I might say, I talked to Bob briefly. There is definitely some interest here. Any details that would help you as a salesperson. And there's lead tracking as well. And I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on that. I know I did that last week or the week before, but you can fill out your lead tracking and where this opportunity came from, stuff like that. And I'm going to add that new activity. So maybe that's for tomorrow, and I'm going to follow up tomorrow. I'm going to do my thing. Meanwhile, back in the system, we're building up on that history. So here's my first note in the system. Spoke with Bob about some potential opportunity. He was busy. So all the way from the beginning, we're tracking the history. Inside of activities, we have our first crossed off contact. So let's say, tomorrow comes around or whatever. I look at my schedule and I'm driving to my next appointment. I have some time. I'm going to do a couple of calls. So down here, I have another contact. I'm going to click on my contact. And I have some notes here. I need to call Bob. There's definitely some interest. Okay, I remember that. Yeah. So I'm going to come back up. I'm going to click on Bob's number. I'm going to make my call. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to complete my activity. Now, let's say that Bob said, that sounds pretty cool, actually. Why don't you come on out tomorrow and do my inspection? So we're going to complete this as objective met. And I'm going to say, set up inspection for tomorrow. and then I'm going to schedule another activity, but that's the actual inspection. All right, so inspection, I could pick the type, whether it's budget or proposal, who it's for, the date, which is tomorrow, with Bob, any details, and then add new activity. Right, so it kind of comes full loop there. Every time you schedule an activity for an inspection, the system will automatically place a follow-up 1 week past the scheduled inspection date. Okay, so that was pretty painless. Generally speaking, implementing a CRM, most of the time it fails. Statistically, it fails because the majority of the activity that's input into a CRM is done on Friday afternoon, and it's for the entire week. And if you're like me, trying to fill out all of the different things that I've done on Friday for the whole week, I'm not going to even remember what I did on Wednesday. You need to make the CRM a part of the process. So trying to make it as easy as possible. If you want your people to use the CRM, make it easy for them to do it. So we thought about that deeply when we created this mobile interface. It's a great tool for a salesperson. All right, coming back into the system, because it is about the close, we would eventually have that customer go through service. I'm not going to do a service call today or an inspection, and we're taking care of that customer. Eventually, we have an opportunity that we need to establish for a quoted replacement. So I'm going to just fill out a quote for replacement, and I'm going to say it's for $100,000. We have some other tools down here like projected close date from when you believe they're making a decision. You can fill out your lead sources. You can fill out any custom fields that you have in the system for opportunities, and then ultimately a description. So looking at a single ply system, any notes that you want to stick with this opportunity. You can be as detailed as you want, or you can be vague. Because I did this originally as a lead, maybe it was a referral or whatever it is, it turns red, so we can track that. This is ultimately going to be on that lead tracking report in the end. So to show you just real quick a couple of tools, or just one tool, the sales activity report, it's a great report to be able to manage these types of efforts. In the user administration section, you can actually benchmark what it is you'd like each person or salesperson to perform on a week-to-week basis. So I plugged in some goals for myself. I need to do 6 inspections a week. I need to do 6 quick bids. I have 20 phone calls to make, and I have 10 meetings to actually run. And this is how I'm managed, right? So if I don't hit these numbers, then I'm in trouble come Monday. So this report really helps pull things together. The bottom half of this is going to show the sales efforts, and you can also benchmark it. So what am I supposed to sell each week? Well, I'm pretty light here with 10,000. Maybe it's just repairs, or I'm a replacement salesperson and my goal is much larger. But either way, it's going to show a breakdown of how close you are to your goal, what's quoted, what's sold, and if you click into any of these numbers, it's going to show you in detail what that product is, and also the property link and company link. So let's say that the job comes back and they say, let's do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit my existing quote, and I'm going to convert it to sold. That is now a sold opportunity. And depending on how the policy works within your company, the handoff needs to be documented. So I hear in a lot of cases, it's up to the salesperson to create this sold opportunity. They even check the box, send to production, and they plug in a job number. And they don't set up the job, but they create the job so it's on the operations calendar, right? So if I just mark this sold and I hit send to production, I have a production tab now. And if you have workflow set up in your system, then these are all of the tasks that need to be completed throughout the duration or even before and after this replacement for this specific product. If I come up to my calendar and I toggle into, oh, and by the way, we're getting great feedback on this new calendar, and just being able to see all of the inspections by themselves. If something was past date, they can bring it forward or just drag and drop something. So we're getting great feedback on the calendar, and I do appreciate that. But if I switch this to operations, we're going to see what's on the schedule. We're going to be able to see all the foremen. We're going to be able to see what jobs are assigned to each foreman. But in my stack of jobs over here, I'm going to see that sold replacement that I just had. I think it's called test building right here. So all the superintendent needs to do is go in, edit that job, and then set it up within daily progress, which means he's going to plug in a title, superintendent, foreman, start date, end date, and to be able to track that entire project. All right, so just wanted to touch on CRM, general use of it, and implementing a way of doing things. And if you can get your people to use it, great. If you need help with that, where you want us to maybe spend some time training in the FCS University, we're happy to help however we can. So that's about all I got for that. I want to spend a little bit of time showing you guys something that's new, which we want to promote being able to do email campaigns in the system. Our email capabilities got a lot stronger over the past few months when we switched mail servers. And our mail server does a great job at protecting the reputation of the domain, does a great job at not sending to emails that are invalid, does a great job at tracking bounces and things like that. So we are building on that with expectations that you'll have an email log in your system to be able to see, what was delivered, what wasn't, and what happened. And with that, we have a new email interface that allows for you to do similar emails to iContact or Constant Contact. We can help you with that. If you've never done email campaigns before, let us know. We can help you with banners. We can help you with email lists. How do you find your lists? What do you put on there, right? But essentially, if you were to filter your list down and select who you want to send an email to, click the email icon, and you'll see that this interface has been significantly improved. And it's not just here, it's wherever you see the email, like on the company or the property as well. We also cleaned up the list of the distribution list, really. And if you want to send an email, just start typing in an email address and you can click on it. Right? So you can start to click names or even spell out names or email addresses, and you can select the drop down and see all of your users. Some of you who have, over 150 users, that drop down or that list was getting really, really long. So this is how we clean that up. Subject, what is this? This is a roofing projects. We can switch between a normal email and also a marketing email. If I did marketing, it turns into a layout that we can modify and begin to build on, just like a constant contact. And the intent is that I upload a banner and maybe link it to a page on my website. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking for it, but we'll see if that one works. So basically, you take a banner, you spend some time making an image or a logo or something of that sort, and then you upload it as a JPEG, and then you link it to a page on your website. And maybe that website has a form, and the form is to sign up on a contact me list. That was a bad image to choose, but hopefully it illustrates the point. So let me just do like FCScontrol.com. You can pick the background color, and you can pick the foreground color. So maybe you want that to be kind of gray. It's a terrible looking email, but you can spend some time and get it dialed in. And then you start typing out your body. So got work in the area, we service the area, this is how awesome you are. And then you format it a little bit. Maybe you want some bold, or you want italics, you want to insert a picture, change the font size. Basic editor, just like we see in the Documents tab. We can include a signature, which is going to pull your signature block in the system, or it's going to pull your typed out block if you did either or. With the attachments, you can upload attachments, dragging in them from your desktop, or you can choose them from somewhere on your network. And then ultimately the attachment library. So if you want to send out some brochures or references to other jobs you did or whatever, you can do that. All right, and then I always recommend to look at it again before you send it, double check it, and then even preview it. You can select preview and see what this is going to look like. All right, so if you've seen our other emails, this is a significant improvement. I'm actually going to distribute this and see what it looks like in my email. So your email has been sent, and that stamps inside of the notes too on the records that you delivered that to. All right, so if something comes back from them, or they click on your link, they fill out your form, you can track the results of that. All right, so you have a lead source spot inside of your admin area where you can plug in marketing data. You can plug in your lead sources. So you would create an activity and then check off, hey, they heard from us because of the email campaign, and actually track those results. All right, let me see if I got that email. I'm going to get into production over the next couple of weeks. So today's close. Next is going to be really the start of production. I'm going to talk about the job setup, talk about workflow. We'll talk about mobile app management of the jobs. So here's my email. I'll just slide it over real quick. And you can spend a lot more time on it than I did. And it's a great way to promote your company, promote what it is you're trying to accomplish within your area.